Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Simon with the Delmar Chabad Center, and today we're going to talk about the Messiah, the Messianic era in Jewish law. Now, there's many misconceptions with the Messianic era, and some people don't even know if it's a Jewish idea. Many people think, well, they heard it so much from the Christian side of the scope of philosophy. Does Judaism really hold the Messiah, or is that really a Christian idea? Well, first of all, let's start off again, always like I say, right from the start. And the Messiah is a Jewish idea. Many ideas, of course, in Judaism, Christianity has taken over and made it part of their own, but it is originally and basically a Jewish idea, so it is Jewish. Now, what is it, though? Is it a Messianic era, utopian age, so to speak? Many people say when we're all men, maybe it doesn't mean anything super phenomenal, but maybe a little bit evolving of the United Nations, for example, that we'll all be in peace and we'll all get together, we'll all talk, we'll all be buddies, and it'll be peace in our time, and therefore that may be the definition of the Messianic era. But again, it isn't. First of all, the reason why I say it isn't, and many of the things I will say in Judaism, is based on the Talmud and the way it's been given over to us from all generations, thousands of years, that this is the concept of the Messiah. Second of all, again, like I always never say believe. It's not a matter of faith. We try to show on education. We're trying to show that in logical ideas what the best way could possibly be, not just believe me and I have all the answers. But the answer would be that nowadays we see it in fact, that the United Nations, for example, probably would be the best bet for freedom for all mankind and peace for everybody in the world. We see how much peace there is. Thank God there's no nuclear war since World War II. Has been for 40 years World War II. Major wars. On the other hand, many different strifes, many different problems in Asia. We know in Africa people are starving, and there's just problems all over the world. And I don't know if the United Nations is going to be possible to stem that human mankind. Remember, and this is a major Torah idea also, I think it's something that people would have to, you'd have to understand and you'd have to realize this, is that mankind really hasn't changed too much. All right, before you jump on my back, I know you're going to say, well, look, we have electricity, we have the cars, we have the jets, we go to the moon, we have the computers. Yes, it's true that they didn't have that even 100 years ago, let alone thousands of years ago. But on the other hand, but we're talking about not how much we're sitting here in electricity or we have to light a candle of some sort. We're talking about the quality of life. Do we like our fellow friend, our next door neighbor? Do we get along with our wife? Do our kids respect us? Are we satisfied in our life? Are we fulfilled in what we're doing? These are, and I think everybody would agree to, the basic ideas of life. It doesn't matter how many computers, how good your computer is. Are you happy with yourself? Are you fulfilled in your life? This is more important. I would think everybody would agree on this, and many polls, of course, show this because it is true, that people would look at happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment with their lives above which kind of car they're driving or what kind of new computer model that they have in their house. So this is then, if it's the major part of life, of what kind of quality of life, has that really changed in thousands of years? And I would have to say that really it hasn't, for the most part. There are wars nowadays. There are inhumanity of man against man, and there's problems all over the world. And people have, naturally, those are the same problems inside of themselves. They're looking for a quality of life fulfillment, as they did thousands of years ago. So remember this, when you look through the Bible, you look through the Torah, and you say, well, all right, it's thousands of years old. How can it be applicable to me today? So this would be the answer. Have we really changed? Yes, it is thousands of years old, but maybe the questions are the same questions. Maybe the answers are really the same answers. So back to our issue today, we're talking about the Messiah. Now the Messiah, again, what we said, I don't think there can be a utopian era based on mankind themselves. I think more probable really would be mass destruction instead of mass peace in our time if we just relied on human beings. So therefore we have to have the Messiah come. The Messiah, as many people understand and as they maybe read that they think is a spiritual being. But it isn't really true. It isn't true at all. It's just that the Messiah is a human being. It's a human being, but the Rambam codifies this. This is important to understand and realize, because we're not talking wishy-washy here. We're not talking believe. Again, like I said, we have hard and cold facts to back up our concepts and to understand what we're really talking about. And understanding is a basic line here, because I want to give you over what the Maimonides has codified, and we have the legends of the Talmud, what the Gemara, the Talmud has stated about the Messiah. And the Rambam, suffice us to say, says and codifies as Jewish law that the Messiah will be a person of flesh and blood. He will be a person that is learned in the Torah, in the Judaism, and does the mitzvahs like David, David, the original king of the Jewish people, that thousands of years ago. The Messiah will be a descendant of David the king. And this is important for us to note, that we're talking, on one hand, a very spiritual idea, because, of course, there will be peace in our time when he comes, and there will be major changes in the world. On the other hand, he will be a human being, and he will be a learned person, and he will be a leader for mankind. So a little bit of each. A little bit it's a human idea, it's a normal idea, and on the other hand, it's a little, what it will affect will be miraculous. A little bit of the combination of both, which is an interesting concept if we think about it really. I mean, there's certain times there's miracles, maybe like when the Jewish people crossed the Red Sea. Certain times there's natural, most times as we know, there's natural order of things, and many times there's miracles that are connected exactly with this, miracles connected with our human experience. Now, what I wanted to take now, and this is a very interesting idea, is taking a little bit of the Talmud. Many people ask me, give us a taste of the Talmud, give us something idea, and I surely can't teach it in a few seconds, in a few minutes that we have together with us, but a little bit of a taste I surely can give you. And now the Gemara goes in with this actual question: where do we know the Messiah from the Torah? Where does it say? Well, it really doesn't say clearly. It's a very interesting concept now. That's why many people have denied the concept of the Messiah, because it's not clearly. It has been given over to us, like I said at the beginning of the show, and it says this, that it says in the beginning of Isaiah, all Jewish people have a share in the world to come, and they bring down a sentence. And this shows to us that from the Mishnah, like an authority of the Talmud, says there to be resurrection. But the Gemara, which always questions and tries to understand the Mishnah, which is an important point, asks the question right from the beginning: where do you know such a thing? How do you know so? How do you make a statement like that? You have to back it up with some idea, some proof. So they learn it out from some sentences. Now, I know that maybe people aren't that familiar with all the sentences in Torah, so I surely will explain them. And many people ask me, the idea is a little flimsy, but the proofs here. But on the other hand, it was accepted to us, it was given over, and it has been accepted for thousands of years. Now, it says when the Jewish people crossed the Red Sea, it says they all sang a song. It's a famous story. I'm sure most people know about it. But in Hebrew, and you have to be very exact with the Hebrew words, it says Yoshir, then they will sing, in the future tense. And Gemara asks, why in the future? Why is this here? Shouldn't it be in the past? Then they sang a song. It happened in the past. What it means in the future, it means that there will be in the future also, not only in the past, but they will sing again with the resurrection of the dead. When the Messiah comes, they will sing a new song. Now, this is interesting. It's an important idea. I can't take your questions right now, but I know from the past people, that's why I'm going to try to answer the question, because so many people, when I have told them this Talmud, they've immediately jumped on me and it said, well, that's a very flimsy argument that you're going to see in a word, in a past tense, in the future tense, that you're going to see a whole proof resurrection of dead. And suffice it to say, I mean, I could bring you about 2-3 more senses of that, but they're all going to pretty much be based on the same idea. So really, what is this idea of the resurrection of the dead? Well, let me bring out a story. Now, everybody knows from their history about Queen Cleopatra. Now, she was actually very friendly with the Jews, you should know. Very interesting. She wasn't a bad queen at all. And she was very kindly. And she many arguments in the Talmud, very interesting philosophical arguments between the Romans, because the Roman Empire ruled Israel at the time of the Talmud, which you're talking about 2,000 years ago, between the Romans and the rabbis. Well, they had philosophical debates, and they bring some of them down into these debates in the Talmud, and makes for very interesting understanding and reading and learning, and we shall bring you one of them. Queen Cleopatra questioned Reb Meir, asking, I am aware that the dead shall be restored to life. Well, she already accepted that. That was pretty good for her. As it's written in Psalms, and men shall blossom out of the city like herbs of the earth. My question, however, is when they shall be restored, will they be naked or dressed? And he answered that may be drawn by an a fortiori, conclusion from a comparison with wheat. If a grain of wheat which is buried naked comes out dressed in so many garments, how much more so the righteous who are buried in their clothes should come out dressed in their garments. All right, here's an idea, and we're going to try to mull it over a little bit and try to discuss it. But these are very deep ideas, and maybe I'll just throw them out to you and you can think them over. Of course, if you have any questions, you always can call me, but it's food for thought, let's say. They're very deep ideas, and maybe a little story here, and it's a little discussion there, but they're portraying as a very deep idea. And what they're trying to ask is, even if you accept the resurrection, that how can something that we don't experience happen? And what the rabbis are going to explain in this story and in the next is that certain things happen in our everyday experience that we do accept totally, and they're not just that far different than some of these, so to speak, these weird, these unknown experiences. For example, certain things should come out alive. Well, that's weird. How did dead come alive? Nobody's comes out of the cemetery. That's something almost ridiculous. That's something beyond our human scope. But what we do accept is children being born. Well, surely everybody accepts that. How were they born? Where did they come from? From two seeds? They got a whole human being. Or here he says, like grain even, that a person puts a little seed and you get a whole stalk. Where did that come from? So you accept that, and of course everybody does. It's just total natural human experience. Surely you can accept something that was dead already, living and then dead, and now could be relived. So again, using these simple logical arguments again, would just show you that it isn't so far beyond our reach. Caesar questioned Rabbi Gamliel. You say that the dead will be quickened, meaning be alive again. Does not the corpse become dust? How then can dust be restored to life? And the daughter of Caesar said to Rabbi Gamliel, leave this question to me, and I shall answer it. Very interesting. So Caesar's daughter stepped into the argument. She obviously was there in the middle of Caesar's court in Rome, and she says, I'll answer it myself. I could figure this out. There are two potters in our city, one of whom can make a pot from water, and the other from clay. To which of them would you give preference? Oh, and Caesar answered, certainly to him who created it from water. She then said to him, if he could create man from water, how much more can he do so from clay? Almost obvious, but we'll say it, that a human being is made out of seeds. A person is 90% water in any case, and surely the semen that in the egg that a person has is water, and we have a human being come from those two seeds. So surely here's dust. It's easier to form something out of dust than it is out of two seeds that are mainly water composition. So this is what the Caesar's daughter he actually came up with. A very interesting idea to mull it over. Again, the underlining statement, I would say, is that we're trying to understand the concept that's foreign to us, and we're trying to relate it and base it on concepts that are already quite real to us, but in a sense not too far different. Like I said, coming of life. How far is life? Life comes from something different. In the school of Rabbi Shmuel, it was taught one may learn it through an a fortiori by comparing it with glass. If glass which is made by the skill of frail man, nevertheless, if it breaks, there is a remedy for it, how much more so for frail man who is created by the Holy One, blessed be He, that he could be renewed and he could be restored. Again, it's the same thing. If you have something and it can be repaired, and again, everybody agrees to that, surely a human being, why, if he gets wrecked up, put him back together again? It's an obvious thing. A certain heretic said to Rabbi Ami, all these different rabbis' names, I'm just throwing them out, I'm not giving you a historical sketch on them, maybe made for another time, be very interesting. You say that the dead will be resurrected to life. Does not the corpse become dust? How then can dust be restored to life? He said to them, I will give you a parable showing to what this thing is similar. A frail king said to his servants, go and build me great palaces in such a place, where there is neither earth nor water. They went and did so. In a short time it collapsed. He commanded them to build it for him in a place where there was water and earth. And they answered, we cannot do so. The king became angry, saying, if you were able to build it in a place where there is neither earth nor water, how much easier ought you to build it if there are earth and water? And if you don't believe it, go into a valley and see a mouse, which is today half flesh and half earth. Well, the Rambam says there's a species of mice developed from earth. And tomorrow it multiplies and turns also into flesh. So we see that there are different creatures in this world that are created from earth and water and can be recovered and become new. If they can become out of nothing, surely they can come dead if they already lived. Another story, I'm sure everybody likes story time over here, but these are, I don't take them as just simple little stories for fairy tales. They're very deep philosophical discussion. It's very deep. There was another heretic who said to Gavina ben Pasiya, woe to you wicked ones who say that the dead will be restored to life. If the living die, how can the dead come to life? And he answered, woe to you wicked ones who say that the dead will not come to life. If that which has not existed at all comes to life, should those who once had life not come to life again? Good argument. The heretic answered him, you call me wicked. If I arise, I'll kick you and level your hump from you. And we got a little angry over there, and then I guess that the rabbi had the best of him. Whereupon he rejoined, if you do so, you will be a specialist physician and will receive a great reward. Well, the idea is a cute little antidote at the end. But it's an interesting concept that we're trying to, again, impress upon everybody here. That the dead becoming alive again shouldn't be so foreign to us. It's not in our human experience, and it's not what we're talking about. It's not what we're dealing with. But it could happen. Maybe there's an argument, and maybe I can clarify the situation. Like I say, I don't like to build things on faith and believe, because there is enough logic and there's enough rationale, and I'm sure all our listeners out there and our viewers are very educated people and want to accept something, but they do want to understand what we're talking about, and they should try to have some logical ideas, because really there's science out there, and they accept science, and they should accept the logic that's in the Torah also. But, and this is a major idea here if you come and think about it, that if there is this idea of wonders in our world, and we have to look around ourselves for it, because we go through the life and what's important to us. Like I said, the computers or our car, and we get in, and well, that's something. But many things, the natural phenomena, and maybe not so natural, are wondrous also. Oh, the earth rotating, for example, and looking around and seeing the flowers sprout, and we're seeing that people have children. And where does this all come from? Isn't this very thing special in this world? And once you understand that it's pretty special, I think it's amazing how people have children, and you can have these different happenings into the world, springtime and different facets of the universe constantly going and not breaking down. Then we can see also that these things can happen also, the resurrection of the dead, that the Messianic era will come and finally bring peace to us. Now there's other arguments that we can base ourselves on, why Antiochus questioned Rabbi again. Now Antiochus was he was a famous king in Torah times because he was a Roman king. It's a very interesting story. Not for now how he met up with the biggest rabbi who edited the Mishnahs, but they also have many questions together. Not so antagonistic as our last argument of the heretic, but also very interesting arguments. At what time does the soul come into the body? At the moment of conception or at the time the embryo is already formed? As we were talking about a conception and how the revival of the dead, they went into this concept of when does a person become a person. He answered him, when it is already formed. Antoninus said to him, is it possible that a piece of flesh shall keep 3 days or more without being salted, and it shall not smell badly? Meaning he's saying, how can a body exist without a soul? We know when a person passes away, the body rots and stinks. Rabbi replied to him, therefore be at conception. The thing, said Rabbi, I was taught by Antonius, in the following passages as support to him, and thy providence watched over my spirit, which had very, very interesting concepts. But I had to share it with you that really many times we say, the rabbis are knowledgeable in the Torah and the world, but here's a case where the Roman Caesar actually had one up on the rabbi. And once you like that, I'll give you another one of that, even though we're getting off on a tangent like we always do. Antonius questioned Rabbi again, at what time does the evil spirit reach man? At the time the embryo is formed or when it comes out from the womb? At the time it is formed, he answered. If so, rejoined Antonius, the embryo would kick the entrails of the mother and go out. I mean, if they had an evil spirit inside of it. And therefore it must be from the time it comes out. And Rabbi said, this thing was taught to me by Antonius. The following passage supports it. Sin lies at the door. All right, so I'm making it too fast. These things to be mulled over. There's things to be thought of. I hope you take these concepts and you think about them. It's important to understand these ideas. It's important for us to realize what the Torah has to say. The more we learn, the more we appreciate, the more we see what is the real truth in the Torah. Some more passages, just to give you, and I'm just like you see, I'm flipping through pages, I'm skipping many materials, there's so much to talk about. I'm trying to make a long story very short and brief. It's, like I said at the beginning of the show also, it just may be impossible to bring down the whole Torah into one small little show. But I just bring you a few passages that will help you understand what's talking about. Our rabbis taught, I made one die and make one live. Lest one say that this means I make one person die and another one shall I bring to life. Maybe it says a person will die and they'll live. Maybe it's one guy will die and one guy will live. How do you know they're talking about the same human being? Therefore it reads, I wound and I cure. Meaning, just as wounding and curing applies to one person only, so also to death and life apply to one person, that they'll live again. This is an answer to those who say that there is no intimation in the Torah about the resurrection of the dead. So we have a proof. There is a brisa, another authority. Rabbi Meir says, when do we learn of the resurrection of the Torah? It is written, then Moses and the children of Israel will sing this song. It does not say read shar, saying in past tense, which we said already, this idea, but we'll sing yashir. This is another intimation. Similar to this, it says in Joshua, then Joshua will build an altar. It does not read Bana did build, but Yavana, he will build. Again. Now here's another proof over here. Where do we learn it? It's written, the voice of the watchmen, they raise their voice together, shall they sing, for an eye to eye they shall see when the Lord returns unto Zion. It does not read Rananu sang in the past tense, but Yerananu will sing in the future as the resurrection. In the future, all the prophets will sing together a song of praise. It is said, the voice of the watchmen, they raise their voice together. Well, I think there's enough quotes. I just don't want to bring out so many quotes to you and just harp on you with the many quotes from the Torah, which you may or may not be familiar with, but that's not the major point again. And I just want to bring out some other ideas from the Rambam. Also, see, you may think that's so worldly, so out of our form to understand that the world says, but that the Rambam, the Maimonides says clear. And many people remember this, that idea of the lamb lying down with the wolf. It's a famous quote from Isaiah. So what does this really mean? Well, there's different philosophies. And again, as a side note, you should note, you see that there are different opinions in the Talmud. There is food for thought. There is room for discussion. It's not blind faith. Put that as a side note and remember that. But what I wanted to bring out is that the Maimonides actually says that that's a parable, that the lamb should live in the wolf. What it really means, the Rambam's saying, is that the lamb, the nice people, I hate to say the Nebuchal, you say in Yiddish, the pleasant people, will live with the ruffians, the wicked people, and they won't be destroyed. So that's one opinion. There is, on the other hand, opinions from the Raavad, a different rabbi, who said it really means that that there's going to be a change of nature. Lambs and wolves can't live together, but in the times of the Messiah, they will live together. So there's different opinions, and many people then, of course, ask me, so different opinions, which way is it going to be? How is it going to be if you have different opinions? Can't be both. And like I always say in these matters, that I say stay tuned, because I can't answer it, of course, because the rabbis didn't answer it. When it comes to Jewish law, everything, there's an argument in the Talmud. If someone has to pay the $2 or not pay the $2, then Jewish law says, no, you have to, what's it going to be? She paid the $2, I don't pay the $2. Give me a decision. When it comes to these ideas about the Messiah, even though there are different philosophical ideas, there really isn't a decision upon that for the reason because it's not practical. We don't have to know right now. And like I say, and that's I guess what the rabbis are telling us, stay tuned. Hopefully that the Messiah shall come speedily in our days, and that we'll have all our questions answered and all our problems answered. And this is eventually will be the most peaceful time. There's always peace, and of course the greatest peace. The Talmud says if there's no peace in the world, then there's no blessing in the world. That's the greatest blessing there could be. But besides that, like we said at the beginning, we have to have peace with ourselves. We have to feel that all our problems should be taken care of, and should be able to live with ourselves and with our families, be fulfilled and satisfied with our life, which is probably the biggest utopian era that there could be, not only in our materialistic lives, but mainly also in our spiritual lives. Hope this answers many of your questions, and thank you very much.